We are what? We are who? We are what? Vibrant. We are who? 50 plus. Hi, welcome to Gray Lives on the Rise. I am your host, Professor Jamila Franklin, and we are coming to you from Oyende Enterprises, being sponsored by Jamila Sense, which is our product line of aromatherapy products that helps heal the mind, body, and soul. And we are bringing to you Alamaj's rebirthing program, as well as Jamila Sense, and a host of wonderful programs that will help heal your body, heal your soul, and heal your mind. 50 plus people, we are here to stay. Gray Lives on the Rise. We are what? We are who? We are vibrant, and we are here to stay. Join us for our wonderful episodes. Thank you, and continue to look for our episodes weekly, being brought to you again from Oyende Enterprises and Jamila Sense. See you soon. Greetings, everyone. Hello, episode 2. This is Professor Jamila Franklin, and I am so excited today. So excited. I can't hide it. I can't sing that well, so okay. That's on my resume. But I am thrilled to have Miss Sharon Berry. She is my sister in spirit, and also we're like blood connected on a spiritual level, okay? She's from a different mother and a different father, but I feel like she's my soul sister because she's married to my soul brother. So we are family, okay? She is amazing. Okay, this person is just phenomenal. She's a graduate of Howard University. She worked in the school, not school. She worked in the field of finance in terms of insurance, and she's done a lot of other wonderful things. I'm just going to bring her on and give you some more information about it. But anyway, she is the daughter of Norma and Tom Gaston, and is a second-generation college graduate. And her parents instilled in her the importance of education and civic duty. And after graduating high school in Dayton, Ohio, Sharon entered Howard University, as I mentioned before, in Washington, D.C., where she majored in finance. And after graduating from Howard, she met her future husband, Calvin Berry, who's like my godbrother. Okay, Calvin and I both from Memphis. They remained in the DCMD, which is Maryland, Virginia area, and raised their only son, Jordan, who is my godson. Amazing young man. He's amazing. I love him so much. He's amazing. Sharon spent 39 years in workforce working in the private and public sector. She spent the first half of her career as an insurance professional and the second half of her career working in Maryland state government and Maryland higher education. She retired from the University of Maryland Global Campus this past June. Sharon volunteers as a member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, aka Incorporated, the Links Incorporated, and with other nonprofits supporting programs that uplift underserved communities and improves the lives of women, children, and families. We're so excited to have Sharon on this journey. Gray Lives on the Rise with us. She's just phenomenal. She's phenomenal. The thing that I didn't talk about is that she's a tennis enthusiast. She is a very good active tennis player. And she follows all of the tennis people and their circuits and whatever. So up to date on all of that. So, and she's been playing tennis for a number of years. So now that she has retired, she has time to travel and keep up with the tennis pros as they travel around the world. So welcome, my beloved sister. Love you, love you, love you. How are you?
I'm doing well. And Lord, I hope I can live up to that introduction. Just as a point, though, I haven't picked up a tennis racket in a couple of years because although my gray life is on the rise, my hips are failing. So we haven't played tennis in a minute, but I have watched a lot of tennis recently, so that's a good thing.
Okay, but it's still in the DNA, darling. It's you pick up that racket and you still be able to playing
Yeah.
tennis. It's still in the DNA. But
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
you know, I find you to be so amazing. I've always said that about you and Calvin. She and her husband reminded me of Michelle and Barack Obama. I love the dance that they do together. You know, they know how to compliment each other, to support each other, and be there for each other. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing. So, how many years have you guys been married, Sharon?
We got married in 87.
How many
So
years have
that
you been married
makes
now?
it, what, 40? Wait a minute. I can't do the math. 87. So that's 37 years. Yeah, 37 years.
Yeah. That's amazing. And you have my handsome, on the point godson, Jordan Barry.
Yeah.
Love him. So anyway, I want to talk about your title, Intentional Gratefulness, Lessons Learned from Wisdom. I think that that's amazing. I think that that's amazing on so many different levels because, I'm a life coach and I'm a spiritual life coach, and I just love anything that deals with gratefulness and intentionality because so many people are so self-absorbed and they think everything that they have is because of their own doing and they're not grateful. They don't give back like you do. And you have always done that. So why did you come up with this particular title?
Well, I actually have to credit a former colleague of mine who worked at the University of Maryland Global Campus up until I'd say about a year ago, Blair Hayes. Blair is a wonderful guy who also is in the DMV. And he recently wrote a book called Grace, Growth, and Gratitude. And I listened to a interview that he had done with a lady whose name I can't recall right now, but he talked about being intentional about gratefulness. And the way he framed it was he talked about how, you can be grateful for things. Oh, I'm grateful I got up this morning. I'm grateful that I have enough food to eat. I'm grateful that I get paid enough to cover my bills. But the way that gratefulness is expressed is passive. We just make the observation and say, oh, yeah, almost as if it was just luck. And rather than expressing, not going beyond expressing gratitude, but actually acting on your gratefulness. And that really resonated with me. And I said, I have a lot to be grateful for, but I also, in the 39 years of work and the 62 years of just living, I need to be more intentional about how I show my gratitude or how I express my gratitude or how I inculcate my gratitude, how I can make that a part of who I am and pay it forward, if you will. And so in my now retired life, that's really what it is I want to do, is to pay forward all of the things that I have been blessed with. And it comes from a spiritual place. I'm not really a religious person. I'm not a regular churchgoer, but I feel like there is a higher being, there's an order, a divine order, which we all are part of. And me paying it forward is kind of like how karma works or how it should work. If I'm blessed with something, in order to keep those blessings coming, I've got to do right by others. So that's part of what I am intending to do in my post work life, is to give back more and to be more intentional about how I'm grateful.
Mm-hmm. I think, if I can just share some things, I think that you've been extremely kind and generous in terms of paying it forward. When you were working, you were mentoring people who came in after you in the insurance business, because I know some of the stories that you've shared with me. And you've always been able, especially when I've called you and Calvin in times of need, you've always been there. You would stop, both of you and Calvin, but especially you would stop and listen to what was heavy on my heart. Because I'm not a person who is transparent. I don't believe in that. People are like, oh, transparency. I said, no, you don't need to know my business unless you're going to help me spiritually, financially, physically, mentally, in some kind of way. Otherwise, it's gossip, right? I don't talk my business to people. But you and Calvin, when I would call, you would stop and you would listen, and we would talk for minutes, even, and would lead sometimes up to hours. And you just stopped what you did, and you heard me. You heard me not with your ears only, but from your heart. And that was, to me, just showing, well, I was so grateful for it, but it was just saying that you were connecting with what I had to say and what I wanted to share. And you never, ever, ever made me feel as what I said was not important, no matter what was going on in your life. So with you, I think that the universe is giving so much to you because you've given so much on so many different levels.
Oh,
On so many different levels.
Really,
you've been a wonderful mentor to your son, and you've been an excellent mentor to other people, within your sorority and within your community. So what is the wisdom? You share some of it, but in terms of the gratefulness, what is some of the wisdom? And I know what's going on now in terms of your family life.
Yeah.
By giving something back, how are you being replenished? How are you being, how is your cup being filled? Because I know if we constantly give, we have to replenish as well. And how are you replenishing? Because you're at the pump, and the pump is being pumped with all the water coming out. So what are you doing to restore that energy that you're so freely giving to others?
Yeah, sure.
So unselfishly giving to others.
I've been fortunate in a lot of ways. I've, had my trials and tribulations for sure, that just come from being on this earth. But overall, I've lived a fairly charmed life. As you know, I'm now a caregiver. My mother has dementia, and she lives with us. And I think probably a lot of my lessons in terms of intentional gratefulness come out of that experience. I mean, I can look back on other things that have happened in my life, some near misses, some not misses that were painful lessons. And I always say that we tend to learn from the things that are most painful. But I've had those as well. But I think the recent turn of events with my mother's diminishing health has taught me how to live in the moment. A lot of the reason why I chose to stop working at this point in my life had to do with what I witnessed going on with my mom. And a lot of what she did was informed by what she went through with my dad many years ago when his health declined. So some of these are recent lessons. They don't come from a deep well of wisdom. I'm not going to claim that. I'm going to claim that I try just not to repeat mistakes, and I'll call that wisdom, right? But being able to be retrospective about things that have happened in my life and hang on to the lesson from that. And so with my mother's health, the lesson there was I have got to appreciate each day that I am given. and enjoy that time not only for myself but with my life partner, my husband, with my son, who lives nearby, and we were able to
Well, both of
stay
you have gone
close
through.
touch.
Yeah, both of you have gone through some things. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because
yeah,
I know before his mother transitioned, her health had declined as well. It had declined, and both of you were right there in terms of supporting each other through that journey as well. And I think what has happened is because you both have weathered the storm with each other, with your parents,
yeah,
that
yeah.
you now are reaping the benefits from that, because other people would have put their parents in retirement communities and just forgotten about them. And because that's what some people would do for different reasons. It's no judgment, but for different reasons in terms of senior citizens homes, not a community, upscale communities like your mom was in, but like the state-run homes. And those places are really, really horrific. But you two have hung in there, and you've done the things to support each other, to look at the circumstances. And what you did was so commendable, because you could have continued working, but you chose to stop, to be there for your mom. And I think what you learned, like you said, is your dad's health had declined, and you saw how your mom stepped in to be the caretaker for your dad. So you had a really great role model in that respect, to show you that sometimes, even though it doesn't feel comfortable, we have to sort of kind of put our lives on pause, not on complete hold, but on pause, to help those that we love.
Oh,
So
sure, sure.
that's
And
a life lesson, I think,
yeah,
that you learned just observing your mom.
yeah, and that was a great, she was a great teacher, or at least I'm thankful that through my observation, I was again able to get the lesson and the things that she taught me. It was a lot of things, not only emotionally, but financially, that I learned from her, and the things that she had to go through, and how I now prepare for my son when I, enter in that stage. But, again, going back to the lessons, I don't want to sound, all knowing, there's no omnipotence here. What I know, I could feel, I can't even fill a thimble with, but what I've taken and been able to learn allows me to be in the moment, live my life, and understand why I should be enjoying it. And not only why I should be enjoying it, but how I can help others enjoy theirs, through uplifting young ladies, through mentoring programs, through giving back to the community in which I live, and being an ear for. I have a mentee, a young woman who is remarkable, and she did a lot of this herself. I just happened to be along for the ride. But I have a mentee who is a youngish mother, um, and she has her own challenges. But I have been able to, provide some guidance for her in her career, and she's now pursuing her degree, her undergraduate degree, so that she can advance her own career. And I playing a small part in that. But those are the things that keep me grounded. Those are the ways in which I, again, practice intentional gratefulness, by being active and giving back and giving to others, and not just to saying, "Oh yeah, I'm glad I'm on this earth and I'm not suffering right now." you know, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know, because you're being very intentional about it. Let's talk about some of the people, because you mentioned your father's declining health, who has transitioned, and your mom, who now is in the very active stages of dementia. How have you been intentional in helping your peers who may be going through the same thing?
It's a village of
with their
folk, and we're
parents
all in
or
the same
their
season.
spouses?
Yeah, we're all in the same
Hmm.
season. We're all dealing with, some of us are dealing with parents and kids, in a sandwich generation where we're supporting our parents and supporting our children, many of whom are adults themselves. Um, but I guess I support them by sharing my story, because
Hmm.
sometimes it just calls for listening and letting them know they're not alone in this journey, that we're
Right,
all going through some phase of it. And that in itself can be reassuring, even if
right,
I don't have an answer, even if I don't necessarily have a specific resource. Just knowing that someone is gone down the same road that you've gone down, at least for me, um, provides me some comfort. And if I can share, what I've done and how I've
mhm.
gotten through with others who are doing, or suffering or experiencing similar things, I'm happy to do it. And I can't tell you, there's not a week that goes by that I'm not talking to a friend who is going through the same thing.
Mhm. That you're not talking to a friend and not supporting the person. I know that's the thing that's really, really remarkable about you, because I know what's going on in your personal situation with your mom, and you're still being intentional about being supportive and giving pearls of wisdom to those who need it in their hour of need, who need it the most in their hour of need. So I am really going to go a little deeper, and we're having some internet issues, everyone. So thank you for bearing with us. We know that there's some internet challenges, but we're working through them. So let's go back to little Sharon and talk about how she came up with this heart of compassion, because intentional gratefulness comes from a heart of compassion. What was little Sharon like in Dayton, Ohio? What was she like?
Precocious.
What were some of the things that she did to get to this wonderful space?
Yeah, so I was a precocious kid. Not bad. I was obedient, but I was always wanting to do the next thing. I grew up in a great village, and I grew up in a
Hmm.
time where we grew up with our cousins, our families. My uncles
Hmm.
and aunts all lived near each other, so I grew up knowing my cousins, and vice versa. I say these people were my, what I call my day ones, my people who knew from whence I came, knew all the secrets and all the silly things that we did as kids. And I sort of wish my son had that experience. He won't, just because of the geography between him and his cousin, and the fact that I've only got one sibling. So he won't have the same experience that I did with my cousins. But like I said before, I lived a charmed life. I had two loving parents, and I think from what I was able to see and observe, my cousins had similar lives, although a few of them had challenges, of different things. But I think we all grew up in loving environments and grew up with parents who wanted their kids to do better than they did. And I don't think any of us
Hmm.
really wanted
Hmm.
for anything. Um, but it was that kind of world that allowed me to experience things without fear, and to explore things that I may not have even thought of otherwise. Able to participate in sports, travel, do different things that growing up in the 60s and 70s, maybe not all little brown kids experience, but we were in a working to middle class community of Black folk who grew up in a town that was we had a lot of GM subsidiaries in Dayton, Ohio. So we had a lot of folks who could enter the factory and make a good life for their family. We truly did have a middle class, existence that unfortunately started to fade once the auto industry started to slide. But you could either go to college or you could go to the factory and make a good living and have good benefits and that sort of thing. And it was that kind of life that afforded my parents the opportunity to send me to college. They too went to college. Both of them were college graduates and even got advanced degrees, but much later in life. But that was true for most of my cousins as well. But we weren't, highfalutin by any means. We,
But the thing that's really amazing, even though you had this solid middle class background, you still were very much connected to family and connected to human values, because sometimes people become disconnected if they're financially secure. And that's what I love about Jordan in terms of the jobs. And I think it comes from his parents because of his dad. And that's really, really important. You came from this solidly middle class background. Both parents were educators. They instilled in you the ethic of working diligently in school so you can get ahead, but also not forgetting your roots. That's what's really important. And you stay connected to that. I think that's amazing, because there are people who did it. They did well. They forgot about the community. They never looked back. They never reached back to bring someone else up with them. And that was never your fate. Even with your relationship with your sister, who is how many years younger is she than you?
There's a 7-year
Your
difference.
younger sister.
The oldest of the two, yeah. So, and we were all a part. My cousins and I, we were all a part of that migration experience, where from the turn of the 20th century up until the 70s, where Black folks were migrating to the west and to the north to escape the South for different reasons. A lot, we still stay connected to the South because my grandparents on both sides, my maternal and my paternal grandparents, stayed in Alabama. So there was always the sojourn in the summers back to Alabama and Point South, where our parents grew up. My dad, my mom, my uncles and aunts, all were children of the South, and they didn't flee. I don't think for some Black folk feared for their lives and left, but I think our parents were just leaving the South and migrating north for job opportunities, which a lot of folk did. And like many, they followed the train lines, So if you lived in Alabama or Kentucky or Virginia, you went north to Ohio and maybe into Detroit. And, if you lived in Florida, you went up, to Philly and New York. And if you lived in eastern Louisiana and Texas and Arkansas, you went to California or points west. So our migration story was not a lot different from a lot of other African American stories. Yeah.
But what you did with it, and this is part of what I would like for people to do and to know. We need to go back to the old ways in terms of each one reach one, each one teach one, because even though your family was very secure in terms of economic status, you still looked out for the other members of your family to help them and the community. And we've lost some of that. So, some people now, and that's what I love about LeBron James. He went back and adopted a whole school and have scholarships, and he's from Ohio for people who are done well, and he's had that program for over 4 years now, and now he has success stories, and I just love him because of that. And so that's what I love about your story and about Calvin's story too, because I know he's mentored a lot of people when he was at Howard and working at the TV station. So you guys do that even though you're not being paid, and you just recently retired, and you're giving your time, like you said, this young mother who is one of your mentees, giving back, servicing. So we in the 50 plus generation, gray lives on the rise, we now have, some of us have time to give back. Yes. And to not just rest on our laurels, but to give back to the community and to uplift, because that's the legacy we come from as people of African origin. That's been our legacy. People would migrate from Mississippi, from Tennessee and whatever, and people in Chicago would let them stay with them until they could get on their feet. We helped each other. So now what I'm seeing with some young people is this: I got here on my own. You didn't get anywhere on your own. If you took the bus driver had to open the door for you to get in on the bus. You don't get anywhere on your own. So we remember that. Because how you're talking about it, like how you stand on the shoulders of your parents. I know I stand on the shoulders of my mom and all of my ancestors. I didn't get to where I am just because of who I am. People helped me. So now that you're retired, because there are people who are members of Great Lives on the Rise who need to know what to do with their life after they retire. The first year, you're catching up on your sleep. You've been working on it. You've been working for it 50 hours.
And so keeping your medical calendar current.
Yes. You do all that kind of stuff. But then afterwards, they're like, okay, what should I do? And a lot of them don't, and I'm telling them, do not be an automatic babysitter. No. You lived your life so you have your time. They need to make an appointment with you if they desire for you to babysit, because this is your time. So you're volunteering. People need to hear things like what you're talking about, because I know of someone who's asking me, she recently retired. She wants to get involved, but she doesn't know what to do and where to go. So what would you say to some people who are recently retired and are looking for things to give back, ways to give back to the community?
Well, absolutely. I fortunately have been involved in organizations that gave me a natural segue into civic duty and service. But there are so many ways through AARP, through their local office on aging. And you're right, Jamila, we have so much. We have such a deep reservoir of experience and resources. I mean, you don't have to be an expert. You just have to say, "Oh, I know somebody that used to do that. Let me put you in touch with them." Or, I had a former coworker that did this, and or current coworker or whatever. We just have a deep reservoir of experiences and resources in which we can tap. We're not dead yet. And I think what I love about the concept of Gray Lives on the Rise is that, we can actually demonstrate our worth in a society that really devalues seasoned folk like us and babies, people in the middle who are strong and virile and, can at least give the appearance that they can do it on their own, are the only ones that seem to get any play when it's at the edges or it both ends of the spectrum is where the resources need to be poured into, and leveraged,
Yes.
to really, what they say, build from the middle out, into a more equitable and inclusive society.
Yes. And that is so true, Sharon. But the irony of this is that we're part of the baby boomer generation. You're a little under, but still considered part of that generation. We are the largest demographic. The 50 plus and old, we're the largest demographic. And the people who are in power are part of that. Like Vice President Kamala Harris, both former President Barack Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, Joe Biden. You name people now who are really doing things that are powerful. They're in this demographic, and we are being ignored. We're the CEOs of companies and things. And I've talked to people and said, this is completely crazy. They're ignoring this whole group. We have disposable income. People in this age group are able to travel. They've paid for the children to go through college. They don't have those kinds of expenses that they had 20 or 30 years ago. So, but they're ignoring us. And we, like you talked about, is so important. We are a resource pool. People I know who have retired, who would like to go back to work part-time or whatever, they won't put their college years on the resume because they know that they will be discriminated against.
Well, I'm going to push you on that. I'll push you on that point a little bit. I'll push you on that point.
Allowing us to go back into what we created.
Yeah, I'm going to push you on that point just a little bit. I'm going to push you on that point just a little bit because I made the observation with some friends not too long ago. We are a large demographic. I think the millennials are starting to rival us in size, but culturally, we still wield a lot of influence. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you an example. For instance, pickleball's a big thing now. Why? Because baby boomers can't do tennis anymore. It's too challenging. It's harder on the joints. We've invented shoes that we don't even have to bend down to put on. Why? Because if we did it, we might not be able to get up. So now we have Skechers. You just slide your foot in there. Who invented that? Probably somebody from our generation, right? So, I mean, we're doing things that culturally are still very influential because we're not ready to give it up.
Yes.
We want to drag everybody with us. And what we think is whatever we grew up with and whatever's important to us, we make it cool. Right. And so it's an interesting dynamic, I think, because we're probably one of the most selfish generations. We've left the millennials and the alpha generation to figure out how to fix the climate that we screwed up, right? And refused to help fix, at least, from a legislative point of view, right? We got people in Congress that are north of 80 that refuse to leave. So, I mean, yes, in some cases we might be overlooked, but in a lot of cases we've done some selfish crap. We need to get out of the way.
But you know what? I think what you're saying is so important. And my other view about this is this: there are some of us who have made attempts to mentor people who are younger, and they don't listen. I know a lot of my friends have said they've given up because they don't listen and they think that they know as much as you, and they're arrogant about it. I know when we were young, we would say, okay, I may not like what Nana said, but I'm going to sit there and listen and pretend like I'm listening. They don't even pretend like they're listening anymore. They're like, you're old, you're over the hill. Yeah. And this is what my mom used to say, when you do things like that, a hard head makes a soft behind. So some of us, I've done this. I'm just like, okay, girlfriend, go for it. I've been in this role. I know it. I know the politics, and they shut you out. Not all of them, but quite a few. They're like, I know this is not the same. I said, okay, repeat the mistakes. You don't have to, because my thing is, if you tell me there's a train down the track, and if I go on that track, it's going to crash into my head, I'm not going down the track. But they're like, well, prove it to me. And then it splat.
My cousin
It run right into the train.
No, my cousin made this very same point that you're making yesterday with her two kids. She's got a boy and a girl, and they're boomerang kids. They left the house and now they're back. And they were trying to enter into endeavors that she and her husband were expert in, but rather than consult with their parents, they went and got advice, from somebody off the street, or, not necessarily a total stranger. And when my cousin learned of their, what they were thinking about doing, they're like, we live under the same roof. We could tell you what you need to do. I do this for a living, So it was kind of funny. And you made the point. And they're millennials. The kids are.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think on one hand, what you're saying too, some of the old heads need to kind of move away, move out off the scene. But then sometimes I look at things and I get, and I'm very empowered, but I get a little nervous. I'm like, now this one can't tie his shoes straight, and I have to leave my life in his hands. I'm kind of nervous.
Yeah, I think we need to understand. I think we need to understand how
some of them don't have the insight.
Yeah. I think we just need to understand how we need to contribute. Because there's so many ways that we can, support and better society. Unfortunately, we don't always get it right, but there's a lot we have to give. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think what we would like to do in this age group is support those who are younger, but support each other too. I'm saying to people, listen, look, if people who are younger don't need or desire our advice, I'm not going to keep knocking my head against the wall, because I've done that and it hasn't worked, and I've gotten frustrated. And I decided I did not want to be in a minimal security prison after having choked one of them. So let me back up. Let me back up and talk to people who are in my age group who need support, like how you're doing. Because this is my thing, and I'm being so passionate about it. I don't think anyone 50 plus needs to be homeless, without food, without a caring community. There are too many of us. We have billionaires in this group. We have millionaires in this group, right? And so this movement crosses racial lines. It's global. I talked to one of my mentees in Australia. Her brother is 48. He said, I'm not 50 yet. He said, but I'm experiencing this in Australia. He said, I wanted to change jobs. And I found out I was up against some 20-year-old, and they weren't giving me serious consideration. So he's feeling it. And he's, like I said, he's Australian, a white male in Australia. So people in different continents, in different countries, are seeing this ageism. It's rampant. So people now are feeling isolated because they don't know what to do. They don't feel like they have a sense of community. They get angry when they go to the store or to the doctor. They can go to the doctor and tell the doctor, okay, I have this pain. The doctor's not listening to them, right? Who's younger. He or she's going to tell them what's wrong. And the person, no, that isn't what I told you. Yeah, but I know, I'm the doctor. And so people are feeling, like you said, Sharon, earlier, undervalued, invisible. When you hit 50 plus, it's like you become invisible. They don't want to hear what you have to say. They don't think you have a brain in your head. Even though you're the parent or the grandparents of them, you've opened doors in terms of all kinds of things, economic doors for them, political doors, whatever. You've done that. But because you hit that 5-0, they dismiss you. So I said, let's mobilize, get all of us together and be a resource bank. Someone who is interested in learning more about tennis can call someone like you, but we don't know where the people are. So I'm pulling together Gray Lives on the Rise saying, we're here. It's not about gray hair only, because yours is beautiful. It's about a consciousness. And that's why this came to me from God, from Spirit. God was saying, you need to mobilize people because they're feeling isolated. They're feeling alone. They have a lot to contribute in their families even. Sometimes, oh, that's Nana in the back, and they laugh at them. They have them on social media talking about things that are inappropriate because they're suffering from dementia. And these people are using their family members who are older, put them on social media, have them making inappropriate comments, laughing at them because people contribute money and they make money off that. That to me, that's criminal. That is criminal. So I think we need to come together and say enough is enough. We don't really have to take this from you. And I told people, your dollars matter. Stop spending your money with people who don't value you. I'm telling you, that'll be the wake-up call. Don't yell and scream, why don't you pay attention? No, I'm not into that. I'm an activist. Spend your money with 50 plus. There are enough of us. There are enough of us that we can buy from each other, support each other, help each other, go on trips together. Patti LaBelle and Anita Baker and Gladys Knight don't need to be doing old school tours. They can be producing new music, but the recording industry won't allow them to do it because they say, oh, you don't have a market. Every time we have an old school review, it sells out because people want to hear the music. Chris Brown is okay. I'm not into him. Beyonce is okay. I'm not into her. I want to hear music that relates to me. So, girl, you see, I'm sure. Sermon of the year, me. So, and we have a lot of comments coming in, Sharon, too. Them reading some comments. So, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I agree. I think there's a part of our what you're talking about. I think is driven by our wanting to stay relevant, and not that we shouldn't. But there's also a vanity and an ego about that, and that goes back to the comment I made about the shoes and the pickleball. But there is a devaluing of seasoned folk when it comes to serious issues. But we got to understand what our shelf life is and how it is we need to be contributing. And we saw this in the election, Jamila. We saw this in the Democratic National Convention is Exhibit A about when folk need to step aside and understand that they need to now contribute in a different way. Joe Biden made that decision, and that is an illustration of what I'm talking about. And there are probably some others in Congress that need to take, to use his example. But my point is, there's a lot that we have that we can contribute, and it's a matter of marshaling those resources, marshaling that brain power, and understanding our own worth, not only as seasoned folks, but as Black women, we're in a unique position of having other barriers and other challenges that come with a devaluing, if you will. So I think there's just a lot of lessons learned in that, and in having that conversation and hopefully learning from it, and being able to apply what we know, what our lessons have taught us, and what our wisdom compels us to do and how to act, to not only just to save the planet, save democracy, save save the whales, save everything.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is going to
Yeah.
come from
Yeah.
the lessons that our generation has learned and can instill in others.
Yeah. And from people like you, I think it's really commendable. I was so pleased when I invited you to be a guest speaker and you said yes, because I know that you are an amazing person, human being,
Oh,
and role model, even though that's not what you intend to do and be, you are just by example. The thing that I love about you and about Calvin as well is you live your life in a certain way that other people like me who are on the sidelines and looking and observing you stand back and say, that's amazing. Because the union that the two of you have created and the way that you lived your life, for me, and I've told you in Calvinist, I don't know how many times, that you remind me of Michelle and Barack because of the support that you give each other. And people are thinking as you age, that may not be the case. And people putting out these negative images about how people who are seasoned, I don't say old and elderly because that's not who we are. We're seasoned, we're mature, and we're golden. These seasoned couples are existing and they have all these negative stereotypes. And your thing about intentional gratefulness, being grateful for all the things, like you said, you've lived a charmed life, and yet you have stepped out of that to give back because you see from what you were saying with your mom, with your dad, and just living life because you were in DC at Howard, just seeing how people who didn't have to give back gave back
yeah, yeah. I
because they
have to credit
cared.
my parents. Tom and Norma were role models in Black love and how a couple should support each other. I was very lucky in that regard to, and I didn't even know it at the time. I just lived it. I was in it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, sometimes you have to step back or do a
Mm-hmm.
retrospective view of what you've
Mm-hmm.
experienced to really appreciate how things were poured into you. And both my parents really did pour into me. Um, and I'm just learning. And even now, I'm seeing ways in what I was able to get from them growing up and what they did for me as my parents. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And see, that's the important thing. People can say a lot, but the actions are, to me, the the the, the proof of who a person is and the proof of the person's character. Because people can say, "Oh, I love humanity. I love African Americans. I love supporting women and whatever," and do nothing to say. So your actions speak the cliche. Your actions speak louder than words, and your actions have spoken volumes. It's like as humble as you are, because people, she's being humble. As humble as you are in terms of the things that you've done for people. Because like I said, I've sat on the sidelines and I've watched you. I've watched you do things for me personally that you didn't have to do. And that spoke volumes to me. And I said, you and Calvin have just been, we're like blood. And I definitely desire to have you on here to tell your story and so other people can see that it's those people that you don't see on the news, that you don't see in magazines. Those are the real movers and shakers. You're being in the life of this young woman who's a single mother and empowering her. That spreads out to other people, because she's going to do the same thing, and her children would do the same thing. It goes on and on, and it spreads out like that. It has a rippling effect. That's what it does. So the silent heroes, the silent sheroes, are the Sharon Berries, the Calvin Berries. You are the ones that I take my hat off to because you don't have to do it, especially not being retired. You don't have to give service and give back to humanity, and you're doing that. And I so appreciate you. So what are your parting words? Because we're here at 7:53. What would you like to say, or organizations that you would think people should maybe consider joining to give back? And then if you have an organizational contact or number or something that you would like for people to have, you can feel
I
free to
don't.
share that.
Yeah, I don't have any specific number. I shared AARP. In whatever state or municipality you have your office on aging, um, um, value members as resources to give back. But those of us who are members
Yeah.
of the Divine Nine understand that um, what was instilled in us, whether we joined an undergraduate or at the graduate level, that our service does not end when we stop going to college. It's and the reason we were founded, most of us understand that those reasons still exist today. So there are so many ways in which we can give to our communities, and you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have well, I'm giving out my age now, Rolodex. People don't use those anymore, but the digital version of that, it doesn't need to be as thick as your head, but it's certainly
Yeah.
there's somebody that knows something that will benefit someone else that and so I say I like to think of myself as a connector, a person who may not necessarily be able to do what you need, but can put you in touch with someone who can help. And that's
Yes.
what I do in the organizations that I work in, particularly with the Links and Alpha Kappa Alpha. Yeah.
I think that's commendable. Let's stand up and show people our shirts. Look, Great Lives on the Rise. You have to join our movement, okay?
Yeah.
And branding is really a part of it, because people are asking people, what is that? So see, Great Lives on the Rise. We have our, and Sharon has hers. Sharon, your color, the melon, people saw you, and that's a hot seller now. That
Oh,
color,
really?
we have it in grape, we have it in melon, we have it in white, we have it in black. And your color is the one that's the number one seller. So join us. Get the merchandise. We have it in bags, we have it in stickers, we have totes, we have cosmetic bags, we have everything. Go online to Gray Lives on the Rise and you will see it. You will see our whole online store. And we're a movement. It's just like we're telling people we're here. We're not going anywhere. We're empowered. We're pulling together. We're helping each other. We're supporting each other. So don't feel hopeless. Don't feel helpless. And don't take second class, attention, or people who are being derogatory or trying to denigrate you. I had to talk to someone recently with my phone store. I went in and I was telling the person, like I said, that there was something wrong with the phone, and he was going to tell me what the problem was. And I said, oh, wow. So I reported him to the phone company, to Better Business Bureau. I said, I'm reporting you. I don't like your attitude. So we don't have to sit back and take disparate treatment. We don't have to take arrogant treatment, right? We pay these people salaries. And remember that gray lives are on the rise. You are wonderful. You are beautiful. You are handsome, with no hair, long hair, short hair, gray hair, black hair, braided hair, wigs, whatever. You matter. You are magnificent. The only thing that has changed is the number associated with your age. We are not old. We're not seniors. We're not elderly. We are seasoned. We are mature. We are golden. And those words sound very different than, oh, I'm going to the senior center. Oh, I'm feeling elderly. Because you see people walking around on crutches. Honey, look at Sharon. Girlfriend is fly. I am fly, right? And I am 70 years old, young rather. So all my friends look like us. I don't see anybody rolling in a wheelchair. And even if they are, that's okay. But that's the stereotype that Hollywood puts on us. When you get to be a certain age, you look over the hill, you're wearing orthopedic shoes, you know, old folks hosiery. No, we're not. No, we're not. So let's redefine who we are. I'm very serious about that. We have our information on Facebook. It's been streaming. My beloved, beloved, beloved spiritual daughter, Saleha Sheikh, is working all of the technical things behind the scenes. I see a question. We should circulate our monies among us. This means the 50 plus audience. What you want? Go. What you want, baby? Go, Victoria. That's right. That's right. Spend money amongst ourselves. Once we start pulling the money out, I'm telling you, things will change. When we start supporting each other, and like what Sharon said, I didn't know pickleball was designed for us. I had no idea. I was like, pickle? What do you mean pickleball? I didn't even know what that meant. But you're right. The shoes, just slide your feet in. Let's take ownership of that. Let's take ownership and pride in it. See, I'm so proud of my beloved sister here. She just retired in June, and she's already active.
Indeed.
Already active volunteering. You go, girl. You go, Miss Sharon. Yeah. So, I see some more. Don't sell, please. We're thrilled to announce that the winner of our. Oh yeah, we're thrilled to announce the winner of our anthem, our jingle that I made up is Alice Turner. We're going to have that on too very soon. She has this beautiful jingle, So I'm going to sing the little jingle. We have it's 8:00. We are who? We are what? We are who? 50 plus. We are what? Great. Okay. Know that I love you. Thank you, Sharon. You did an amazing job. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me.
Difficulties. But that's
absolutely. I loved it. Thank you so much.
Oh, darling, of course. You are. Yeah. You are so welcome. Thank you. Thank you, love. So everybody, we're going to have this uploaded to YouTube and Spotify and to Anchor. So look for us. Join the movement. Sharon is with it. You saw her beautiful shirt and she's modeling it. She looks so amazing. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And until next week, we are out. Okay, take care. Gray Lives on the Rise.
Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Gray Lives on the Rise, being brought to you by Jamila Sense, which is the product line of Oyende Enterprises. Jamila Sense is a 100% natural aromatherapy line that heals the mind, body, and soul. This episode of Gray Lives on the Rise was intended to uplift you, to inspire you, and to motivate you. Please tell all of your friends, family members, and anyone you know who's 50 plus, who's living a vibrant life and interested in doing more and enjoying life even to its fullest. So thank you, and please subscribe, like, and comment on this video and all our videos. Thank you, and until next time, until our next podcast, namaste and be well.